This is a donut. And of course, it has a hole in the middle. Everybody knows that. But I bet most people have never stopped to think that this little empty space is actually worth billions of dollars. More importantly, these holes aren't just there to save money. They were genius solutions to some massive old-school cooking and business problems. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Donuts and bagels may look strangely alike, but their holes were invented for completely different reasons. By the end of this, you'll know why one hole was created to fix bad cooking, while the other helped build an entire street food culture. Before the 19th century, the donut's ancestor was a Dutch treat called oliekoek. Since these small round balls of dough were shaped like nuts, the name doughnut stuck, then famously popping up in a Washington Irving book in 1809. However, the big aha moment happened in 1847 with a young captain named Hanson Gregory. He was sick of sinkers, cakes that were crispy outside but raw and oily in the middle, so he grabbed a tin lid and punched a hole right through the center. This move gave us the iconic ring shape and revealed a massive culinary secret. The hole allowed hot oil to hit the center directly, making the cakes fluffier and cooking them twice as fast as the old solid versions. During World War I, that same ring shape proved useful in a very different setting. The donut lassies could improvise with shell casings and tin cans to shape the dough into rings, then fry fresh donuts for American soldiers on the front lines. Those donuts became legendary morale boosters, giving the troops a rare feeling of warmth and home in the middle of war. Now the bagel took a very different path. If the donut's hole began mostly as a clever fix for bad frying, the bagel's hole ended up doing several jobs at once. It carried cultural meaning, helped the bread cook the right way, improved the eating experience, and made bagels easier to carry and sell. The bagel is believed to have taken shape in 17th century Poland. Some historians suggest its circular form may have symbolized the cycle of life, which helps explain why bagels became associated with gift-giving for new mothers. So even before we get to the kitchen, the ring already seems to have meant something. But the shape was not just symbolic, it was practical from the beginning. Because bagels are boiled before they are baked, the hole helps heat and boiling water reach the center more evenly. That matters because a good bagel is not supposed to bake up like a soft dinner roll. It is supposed to be dense, chewy, and glossy on the outside, without leaving a pale, doughy center. And there is also a flavor advantage hiding in that empty space. A hole changes the balance between the crust and the softer inside. For a lot of breads, the outer layer is where the best flavor lives. The chew, the browning, the slight caramelization, the part that gives each bite more character. With bagels, that matters even more because the crust is a huge part of what makes a bagel taste and feel the way people expect. So the hole does not just help the bread cook properly, it also gives you more of the part people love most. Then there is the business side. After baking, that same ring shape made bagels perfect for street selling. Vendors could slide dozens of them onto wooden poles or ropes, carry them through crowded markets, and display them without crushing them. So the hole did not just help shape the bagel in the oven, it helped shape the bagel's life in the real world too. And unlike donuts, bagels are not traditionally made by punching a hole out of flat dough. They are formed by rolling the dough into a rope and joining the ends by hand. In other words, a bagel is born as a ring. There is no centerpiece left behind, no extra scrap to fry later. That is why so-called bagel holes are not pieces taken from real bagels at all. They are a modern invention made separately and sold as their own snack. While the bagel's hole helped with boiling, baking, and street selling, the donut's hole created something else entirely, a second product. At first, the little piece punched from the center was just leftover dough. It existed for one reason only, to help the main donut cook more evenly. But before long, bakers realized those bite-sized pieces were worth frying too. And that tiny leftover eventually turned into a business of its own. In the 1970s, Dunkin' helped make donut holes famous by selling them as a separate product called Munchkins, a name borrowed from the Wizard of Oz. It was a smart move. Suddenly, The scrap was no longer a scrap, it was a snack. That idea took off for a reason. Donut holes are easy to eat, easy to share, and full of the crispy outside people already love in a regular donut. They feel smaller, more casual, and strangely easy to keep reaching for. But here is the funny part. Modern donut holes usually are not punched out of full-size donuts anymore. Large chains often make them separately from the beginning, shaping small dough balls on purpose, instead of treating them like leftovers. That is partly because reworked dough can turn dense and chewy, while fresh dough stays softer and lighter. So in the end, the donut hole followed a very different path from the bagels. The bagel kept its hole as part of its identity. The donut turned its missing center into a whole new product. But while the donut turned its missing center into a whole new product, the bagel took a different path in America. Its ring shape helped it stay practical, recognizable, and easy to sell, and over time, that helped turn it from an old world staple into a national business. When Jewish immigrants brought bagels to New York in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, vendors still carried and displayed them the old way, threaded onto wooden poles or sticks. As demand grew, bagel baking became a serious business. By the 1930s, New York's bagel bakers had formed the powerful Bagel Bakers Local, 338, a union strong enough to trigger what people called a bagel famine when strikes interrupted production. Then came the next big shift. Harry Lender, a Polish immigrant, founded Lender's Bagel Bakery in Connecticut in 1927, and the family later helped bring bagels to supermarkets far beyond the Northeast. Their biggest breakthrough was frozen distribution, which allowed bagels to travel across the country and reach a mass market. Lender's helped transform the bagel from a traditional Jewish bread into a mainstream American breakfast food. Unlike the donut, which turned its missing center into a snack of its own, the bagel built its success around the ring itself, going from street food to supermarket staple. So it turns out those useless holes are the real reason these snacks became legends. Whether it was the bagel's design helping it survive as a cultural icon, or the donut's hole turning kitchen scraps into a massive business, it's clear that the empty space is where the most profit and history were hiding all along. Now, I've gotta know, which team are you on? Are you Team Bagel, craving that tough, chewy New York vibe? Or are you Team Donut Hole, looking for something sweet, bite-sized, and easy to finish before, well, going back to sleep? Drop a comment below to let me know. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode of our simple but surprising series.